Beis Tefillah, Yikore, Beis Hamikdash is the Mokom of Tefillah. So, the thing we lost the place at Tefillah. I want to speak today a little bit about Tefillah. Tefillah is such a big part of our life. And I heard Rav Shimshon Pincus Zatzal, shortly before he was nifter, he told a story about a young man who finished medical school and took on his first residency. He got to the hospital. So he obviously wanted to make a good showing, and the chief doctor told him, new resident, obviously they're going to give him the least desirable job. So he put him on, they told him he was on the night shift. The doctor told him that he's going to be in charge of the entire ward of the hospital. And doctor said to him, if at any point, a lot of people, a lot of work to do, a lot of patients, if at any point you feel overwhelmed, pick up a telephone, call for assistance, we'll send in reinforcements. So the young man goes on, obviously wants to make a good showing. He runs around the entire night, and he begins with injections, examinations, runs from one patient to the other. In the course of the night, one little old man died. The family sued for malpractice. So he's in court, and towards the end of the trial, the judge says, would you like to say anything on your behalf before I pass judgment? The young man says, yes, Your Honor, I could tell the way things are going that you're going to be very, very strict with me, and I'm going to get a punishment. I followed all the arguments, and I don't understand. I was up all night. I did not sleep. I didn't take a cat nap like doctors often do. I ran around the entire night, and I know that you are going to throw the book at me, and I don't understand why. So the judge looked at him, he started laughing. He said, you fool. Who told you to do everything on your own? You were told that if at any point you're overwhelmed, pick up the phone and call for reinforcements. Because Baruch Hu says to us, as human beings, we like to feel that we're in control, we're in charge. And Baruch Hu says, why are you running around like a chicken with your head cut off? Why are you trying to do everything on your own? Yes, we have to make hishtadlus. But generally the way it works, ask anybody who's ever succeeded at anything in life, success comes in spite of our hishtadlus, not because of our hishtadlus. And the Baruch Hu says, you need help, pick up a sitter, make a call. The rates are cheap. Pick up any sitter, make a call. Kosh Baruch Hu is always there listening. Kosh Baruch Hu mis'ave l'tfilos shel tzadikim. Kosh Baruch Hu wants us, he wants to hear our tefillah. That's what Jews do. I was once in Columbus, Ohio. Not a very Jewish town. My brother-in-law was an accountant working for one of the major department stores there. So I had to go find him. I had to go speak to him. So I went down to the department store, and the young lady behind the counter, obviously not Jewish, I said to her, excuse me, can you tell me where Mr. Cohn is? She looks up at me. Now you have to understand this is Midwest, almost lower, lower middle class, upper lower class, borderline redneck. And she looks at me and I said, do you know where Mr. Cohn is? And she says to me, well, yeah, he's in Minyan. I said, where? She said, Minyan. I said, where is this here Minyan? She couldn't have meant what it sounded like she meant. And she says, go into the storage area, second office on the right. And I walk in there. There are 10 men gathered for mincha in the middle of the day. Some of them, most of them not yet religious. I think one of them was intermarried. Yet 10 Jewish men get together in the middle of the day and they go to daven. That's what Jews do. Why? HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants that we should be making contact on a regular basis. Kodesh Baruch Hu wants that we're constantly davening. 3 times a day we daven. Rabbi, you know as well as I do, that davening never comes at a good time. In the morning we're tired. In Mincha we're hungry. In Ma'ariv we're tired and hungry. And 3 times a day, Kodesh Baruch Hu wants that we should make contact. 3 times a day come and daven. Why? The answer is that we don't get too caught up in ourselves, and we realize that whatever we're doing, whatever we're achieving, if you're in business, stop right in the middle of your workday. Daven Mincha. Make contact with the Kodesh Baruch Hu. There's a young man, not Jewish, in the business district in New York. He came to a frum Jew. Said, I know why you Jews are so good at business. I see you. I see that a group of you every day, about 10 or 12 or 15 of you get together and you stand off on the side over there for about 10, 15 minutes thinking about business. Eh? That was making you good. We hope he's wrong, by the way. We hope he's wrong. But he's right. In the middle of the day, all of a sudden you stop and you made a business deal, things aren't going well, and you go and you make contact. That's what a Jew does. Kibesi beis tefillah. It's a house of tefillah. It's a way of making contact with the Ribono Shalom. A Jew can't go anywhere. The first thing you do when you pack, you're going on a trip, what's the first thing you pack when you go on? You pack your tefillin. It's the first thing we do. A Jew goes out to eat with his family. You have to stop in the middle. You got to go daven Ma'ariv. Okay, sometimes an advantage. Depending on who you're with, you might want to daven a longer Ma'ariv. But we do it. You never go out. It's never quiet. You go out. You go daven Ma'ariv. Right, there you go. You're davening Ma'ariv. Why? We're making contact. Constant contact. Kodesh Baruch Hu mis'avel l'tfiloso shel tzadikim. Chazal say, why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu withhold from the Avos HaKadoshim? He withheld children. Avram, Sarah Imenu, Yitzchak and Rivka, Rachel Imenu. Leah would have had children withheld, except that because of the rumors that she was going to marry Esav, she already took care of her davening. When it says Leah cried, she cried till her eyes turned red and puffy. Do you think Leah just sat in the corner and cried? Leah Imenu, buried in Marsa Machpelah. She cried in tefillah that she shouldn't marry that Rasha. Oh, you cried in tefillah, you don't need to cry for children. What does that mean? So in the United States, they have a branch of the military called the Navy SEALs. We've all heard of them now because they killed, what's his name? But they were the ones that killed the terrorists. So I heard of Navy SEALs years ago. I used to read up on the Navy SEALs. Very interesting career choice, the Navy SEALs. They decided to do something more difficult, go into chinuch. But the Navy SEALs, they were the group, the branch of the military that they killed the arch terrorist. So I once read up what their training program is in the Navy SEALs. So I'll tell you something. I'm going to give you this is an example, and if anything, it's an understatement. Let's take, for example, the Navy SEALs will sometimes start with a group of 500 candidates. Now, these are men who are already the top Marines in the country. Top Marines in the military, 500. Crack Marines. And they put them through a course of training where sometimes not one out of the 500 will succeed and become one of the Navy SEALs. You understand how selective it is, how exclusive, how elite it is. So, for example, the first week, it'll be what's called sleep deprivation week. 45 minutes a night of sleep. So I sleep 45 minutes a night. By the second night, you're going crazy. By the third night, you're going out of your mind. By the fourth night, 200 of them said, we can't handle it, we're dropping out of the program. So they take 200 men, put them in a room, have a bed, a shower, a meal. You're no longer in the army, in the candidates to become Navy SEALs. 300 men are left. They put them through the second week. They made it through sleep deprivation week. The second week is submersion in ice water on and off for 14 hours a day. By the first, these are only examples, but these are understatements of anything. By the first day, they're, terrible. Second day, third day. By the fourth day, another 200 guys drop out. Can't handle it, okay? You're not going to become Navy SEALs. Put them in a room, warm shower, meal, a bed, you're out. Week number 3 is being dangled upside down, on and off, 12 hours a day. 100 men are left. By the end of the week, another 80 have dropped out. 20 men become Navy SEALs. Imagine an outsider looking in at this. What's going on over here? This does not make any sense. The first week was sleep deprivation. Those who dropped out get a bed and a warm meal. And those who are willing to go on, those who succeeded, they get submerged in ice water. And after submerged in ice water, those who drop out get a warm shower and a room and a meal. And then those who succeed, they go on and they get to be dangled upside down. And then those who drop out again get warm, and then 20 have succeeded. What's going on? The answer is there are a lot of challenges in life, a lot of projects that people take on, where you have to have the privilege of being put to the test. So for example, you want to go to medical school. First of all, you have to have worked hard in high school. And you have to have done well on your whatever they call the MCATs. And then you have to work hard in medical school, otherwise you don't make it. And the harder you work, the more right you have to get onto the next level of challenge. Somebody doesn't want to work hard, they drop out, they're not interested, they go into chinuch. But somebody who is interested, somebody who wants, you want that next level of challenge, you're going to have to work hard. Kodesh Baruch Hu says, the best thing for you, a Jew, any Jew, is he's karvus, is come close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You want to come close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? I have to bring you closer. But you have to earn the privilege. Avram Avinu, you showed that you deserve to come closer. I'm going to withhold that which you want more than anything else. Now you're going to dive in from the depths of your soul, and you're going to come even closer. And after you do that, then you're going to end up getting what you wanted. But you're going to be a different Avram Avinu. You've earned the privilege, you've earned the right to come closer. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu withholds and draws closer. HaKadosh Baruch Hu mis'ava l'tfilasa shel tzadikim. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants a person to come closer and therefore brings us into a situation of challenge so that through our tefillah we will grow and come closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Rashba paskins that a Jewish baby is not allowed to nurse from a non-Jewish woman. Why not? Because, says the Rashba, Moshe Rabbeinu didn't nurse from the non-Jewish women because he was going to speak to the Shekhinah. Very strange. Every Jewish baby is not Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu is. No Novi like Moshe Rabbeinu. Yet the Rashba says a Jewish child can't nurse. Do you know why? Because every time we open our mouth, we say, Baruch Atah Hashem. We're speaking to the Shekhinah. Every time we daven, we're speaking to the Shekhinah. You can't have a nurse like that, defiled. And therefore, Baruch Atah Hashem, we speak to the Shekhinah. You speak to the Shekhinah. You have to be on a madrega. You can't nurse. Every time we daven, every time we say a bracha. How many brachas do we make in a day? Rabbi said, I make a cheshbon. Baruch Atah Hashem. What does Baruch Atah Hashem mean? Open up a siddur, and unfortunately it's usually translated something pathetically like, blessed art thou, O Lord. Imagine a person makes a bracha, 100 brachas a day, 700 brachas a week, 2,800 brachas a month, 30,000 brachas a year, 10 years, 300,000 brachas, 20 years, 30 years, you're up to 1,000,000 brachas. 1,000,000 brachas. You know what that is? 1,000,000 brachas? So a man, let's say he's lifter when he's 85. Comes up to the Ribbon Shalom. Did you make bracha? Did you daven? Oh, I daven. Beis Din Shalmala. Did you daven? I daven. How many times a day did you? 3 times. Did you make brachas? 100 brachas a day. Really? Since the time of his bar mitzvah. 100 brachas a day. No kid. That comes out to 2.5 million brachas in the course of a lifetime. What does Baruch Atah Hashem mean? Blessed art thou, O Lord. Why were you blessing me? I created you. Oh, I never thought about that. You did something 2.5 million times, you didn't think about it. You did something 2.5 million times, you don't need Gehenna, that is Gehenna. 2.5 million times you did something, you didn't think about what you were doing? You didn't think about what Baruch Atah Hashem means? You're making a statement. You are the source of all blessing, Hashem. Baruch Atah, you are inherently blessed. You are the source of blessing. and you do that 100 times a day, your relationship with the Rebbeinu Shalom is going to be a different relationship. Can you imagine a husband saying to a wife 100 times a day, "You are the source of my joy. Thank you for making me supper. You are the source of my joy. Thank you for doing the towels. You are the source of my joy. Thank you for giving me back the credit card. You are the source of my joy. Thank you for everything you do for me." You're going to have a different relationship by the end of the day. Try it with your mother, those of you not married. You're going to have a different relationship because you're making a statement 100 times a day. So we make contact, get closer. So we had a Talmud here in the yeshiva once, many years ago. There's a Ger Tzedek from Italy. He told me that in his process, before he was Jewish, he once came across a siddur, an Italian siddur translated into Italian. They started leafing through the siddur, and he came to the words, "Moda ani lefanecha," and he started crying. Moda ani lefanecha, he started crying. Why was he crying? Because a Jew gets up in the morning, and the first thing you do is you speak to God. First thing, it was overwhelming. He'd never come across that. That was something completely out of his time. It had nothing to do with him. You wake up in the morning, the first thing you do is you speak to Rebbeinu Shalom. Modeh ani lefanecha. We do it on a regular basis. So, it's an interesting thing. When in the Panovich Yeshiva, famous Panovich Yeshiva, so one Friday night, the boys, as is the minhag in many yeshivas, the boys broke into the kitchen to get at the Friday night cholent. It's the Shabbos day cholent, but it was the Friday night, they make it the Friday night cholent. So the boys broke into the kitchen, and there's a tumult, and there's always this goes on in many, many yeshivas. So Rav Shach Zatzal called in the group of boys who had broken in. He said to the boys, "Listen, Friday night, if you want a cholent, you want something to eat, come to my house. I'll give you whatever you want. I don't want you to break into the kitchen." Why not? Shach said, "Look, I understand the temptation. Mayim genuvim im taku, the same cholent, if it's put out and it's permissible, doesn't taste the same. Obviously. Mayim genuvim im taku. But when you break in and you steal and you eat that food, that's stolen goods. You're contaminating your mouth. That's a mouth that's going to be talking to the Shekhinah. The same mouth that the Rashba says a baby can't nurse from a non-Jewish woman, that mouth we can't have eaten stolen goods. That's mitame the mouth. You're talking to the Shekhinah. So I want to share with you something that can change our perspective on tefillah. There's an organization here in Yisrael called Ezer Mitzion. Ezer Mitzion is run by a man, Rav Hananya Cholak. Multi-million-dollar medical relief and help and assistance in many other ways organization, a multifaceted organization. Rav Hananya Cholak was once at the Kaisel with a very wealthy man. He was courting this wealthy man, hoping to get a donation. They were at the Kaisel, and he sees a Jew is standing there crying his eyes out. So Rabbi Cholak says to this wealthy man, "Look, there's a Jew is crying. If a Jew is crying, it's got to be one of two reasons. Either there's a medical issue in the family, or financial issue. I'll make you a deal. If it's a medical issue, I'll take care of it. If it's a financial issue, you take care of it." So often, wealthy men like the challenge. So no fun just to write out a check. He says, "Okay." So if Cholak walks over, puts his arm around his shoulder, he says, "My friend, my name is Cholak. I run Ezer Mitzion. Any problem in the home, family, health, I'll help you out." He says, "No, Baruch Hashem, we're okay. You know, we have little issues here and there, but basically we're okay." He goes to the Gvir, "You're up." So the Gvir walks over, says, "Just name the figure. There's a blank check here, whatever you need." The guy says, "No, Baruch Hashem, listen, we don't have much, but we have enough. We don't need to know that." So Hananya Cholak says, "So why are you crying like that? You're crying your eyes out. What's the problem?" So I'll tell you the truth. I have 12 children. Every time we've had to make a wedding, I've come to the Kaisel, They asked the Rebbe to help me. A wedding, very intense thing. You got to deal with mechutanim. You got to find the kala. You got to deal with mechutanim. You got to get a wedding hall. You got to deal with mechutanim. You got a wedding. Wedding's not an easy thing. And you got to hope it works out. And I come to the kaisel and I daven, and every time I've davened here, HaKadosh Baruch Hu has helped us out, Baruch Hashem. Last night we married off our 12th child. I just came to say thank you to the Ribono Shel Olam. You think, you imagine such a thing? It's almost science fiction. A man is crying his eyes out in gratitude to the Ribono Shel Olam. Imagine such a thing. And it's not, thank you, Ribono Shel Olam, thank you, thank you, thank you. And by the way, I could also use a raise. No, not one of those. Thank you, thank you, thank you, and that's it. Not start with the compliment and call the Rebbe and Cheder as many people do. Oh, Rabbi Plony, I want to tell you my son really enjoys class, but could you please move him up to the blackboard? Not one of those. Just a pure thank you to the Ribono Shel Olam. You know what you do? You know what you achieve? You achieve the same thing, and you could actually cause that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will not withhold something that he would have withheld. If HaKadosh Baruch Hu had plans to withhold something in order to draw you close, or draw us near, he might not withhold it, because I've achieved it already by crying out, by davening and connecting in a thank you. That's the koch. That's the koch of a gratitude to the Ribono Shel Olam. So, the question becomes, I'll tell you a story, it's an amusing story, but I don't mean it to be funny. Just an insight into human nature. I was once traveling, went to England, I was at Heathrow Airport. When I got to Heathrow Airport, the security, what do you call it, the guy at passport control was a very tall Hindu with a long beard and the traditional Hindu headdress. And as soon as I got there at the border control, the chemistry between us, I could tell, was not good. I don't know why, but he didn't like me from the get-go. Now, I was flying to England, and at that time, there was a problem for Kohanim flying on El Al from England to Eretz Yisrael. So I flew to England, and on the return trip, I routed myself through Germany, and from Germany, I was going to pick up an El Al flight and come back to Israel. I was only going to be in England for about 6 or 7 days. So I get to the counter, and on the landing card, it writes profession. So I wrote down teacher. So I didn't like his attitude, because he didn't like me. And he took my card, and I remember as soon as he looked at me, a very gruff kind of fellow, and very, very harsh look, he picks up my card, he looks, he goes, what do you teach? So I said, Torah. So he flinched, because we both knew he didn't know what that meant. And so then he looks at my passport, and he says, why are you traveling back through Germany? So I said to him, because there's a problem with Tumas Mace. Some poskim are matir if there's a poseach tefach, but others aren't, and therefore I'm machmir, so I'm going through Germany. And we looked at each other for about 5 seconds. We stared into each other's eyes for 5 seconds, probably the best 5 seconds of my life. He was about 6'4", and I was about 5'8", and we're looking up at him, and he's looking at me like this. I'm just looking at him like this. And we both knew he didn't know a word I had just said. And he looks back at me again, he goes, what do you teach? I said, Torah. And I could see the internal battle of whether or not his ego will allow him to admit his ignorance. And he looks at me and he takes a stamper, he stamps my passport, and he says, okay, you can go in. Remember, I'm a suspected terrorist. I'm flying through Germany, which is a haven of terrorism. And yet, in place of his ability to admit the truth, he stamped and let me in. I learned an important Musar lesson there. Not easy to admit the truth in life. We believe in the koach tefillah. Do you believe in the koach tefillah? Daven 3 times a day, 21 times a week. Extra Shemona Esrei on Shabbos. Do we believe or we don't believe? Yes or no? There's no maybe. If we believe in the koach tefillah, so unlike the doctors when they say, we're sorry, there's nothing more we can do, all that's left to do is to pray. It's not our attitude. Our attitude is we start with prayer, we continue, and we finish with prayer. And we daven that the doctor shouldn't kill him. That's what we do. We don't rely on the doctor. Doctor is something we're mechuyev to do. Tefillah is not a b'diavad, tefillah is a lechatchila. And therefore, when I went once to Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky Shlita, I had a certain problem. I asked him for a bracha. So Rabbi Chaim gave me a bracha. So after he gave me the bracha, I said to him, I leaned over and I said to him in Hebrew, Harav, Ha'im yesh mashu prakti she'ani yachol asot? Is there something practical I could do? And he looked up at me and he said, Titpalel. Because in his book, that's practical. That's as practical as it gets. And that's what's supposed to be in our book too. Question is whether or not it is. So, why is it, if tefillah is so strong, tachlis, after all the philosophy, after all of the explanation of becoming close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but you know as well as I do, and I know as well as you do, when I daven because I want something, I don't want philosophical explanations. And I don't want to hear stories about, yeah, Hashem answered, but he said no. I'm not interested. I want a yes. I want what I want when I want it. So the question then becomes, are we going to get our tefillahs? And if we don't get what we want, why aren't we getting what we want? So, number one, story I heard many years ago, father had 3 sons. On the day the first son turned 18, got a letter in the mail from a lawyer. An anonymous donor has sent $1 million to become your son's on his 18th birthday. Ooh, wow, what a simcha. Young man, 18 million bucks, goes out and immediately buys himself a sports car. Driving around for 3 weeks, 90 miles an hour, hits a tree and he dies instantly. 2 years later, second son turns 18. The day he turns 18, letter from the lawyer, an anonymous donor has sent $1 million. This time the family's more cautious. They put most of the money away, but the kid's got more money than he knows what to do with, gets involved with the wrong friends, gets involved with drugs. Eventually he has to go to drug rehab, and his life is ruined. 2 years later, the third son turns 18. The day he turns 18, letter from the lawyer, anonymous donor, $1 million. Father picks up the phone, we're not interested. Lawyer says to him, I'm sorry, your son is legally an adult. Therefore, he'd have to decline the money. Father goes ballistic. Can you please tell me who keeps sending this money? Lawyer says to him, yes. Remember about 20 years ago you were in business? You had a partner. The two of you had a very nasty split. He vowed that one day he's going to get revenge. He made millions and decided the best way to get revenge is to send $1 million to each of your sons on their 18th birthday. Looks like he was right. So we know exactly what's good for us in life, right? We know what we need. We know what we want. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu sometimes says, listen, if I give that to you right now, under these circumstances, you're going to crash it either physically or spiritually. It's not good for you. In HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we resort to davening. And then at a certain point, a year, 2 years, or even 30 years later, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will say, now you're ready for it. Now I can give it to you. And sometimes HaKadosh Baruch Hu will say, no, it's never going to be good for you. You're not going to get it. Your tefillah is not wasted because you became a different person. But it's not good for you and you can't have it. And we may lose out. Number one. Number two, it could be that there's something blocking our tefillahs. We said a pasuk this morning in Kinavov. Sakosa Mishkan Mischos Devirai. Kodesh Baruch Hu covered over the Mishkan, so to speak. Made a mechitza between us and him. It's only a coincidence, as much as we believe in coincidences, and this is no, in any way, shape, or form, my intent, the fact that right now in Israel there's a big mechitza issue at the Kaisel. It's not my point. But what is a mechitza? What's a mechitza? So according to some, depending on what your given is, what your point of departure is, the mechitza distances ladies from the shul. Listen, we're in a synagogue, and now you're putting up a barrier, and you're putting us behind the barrier. It's not fair. Okay. The only problem is you have a wrong given. Given that everybody's supposed to be in the synagogue, the mechitza is going to distance you. You're starting from the wrong point of given, wrong point of departure. Given men and women are not allowed to be together in the shul. That's the given. You know what? We found a way for you to come in. We found a way for you to come closer. We'll put up a mechitza. Now the ladies can come into the shul too. Completely different perspective. Depends what your given is. You're assuming that we're all allowed to. Who said? If you believe the Torah is true, which is always our given, so given the Torah is true, and given we're keeping the rest of halachas, then it's a given that you're not here, because we can't be together. And if you ask most men, they'd be more than happy to let the ladies come to davening at 7 o'clock every morning. But that's also a given. We don't have a choice. We have to be here. You can't be here, so we'll put up a mechitza that allows you to come closer, not further. A mechitza is a double-edged sword. Some mechitzas will let you in, some mechitzas keep you, distance you, and some bring you closer. Interesting thing. So there's a mechitza. Something's blocking our tefillas. You know what's blocking our tefillas, Rabbi? Victor Miller was once approached by a man who had a son who had a machla. Doctors gave him about 3-4 months to live. Came to Victor Miller. Victor Miller said, "You have to daven." He said, "I am davening. Nothing helps." He said, "Is there talking in the shul that you go to?" The man said, "Unfortunately, yes, a lot of talking." Victor Miller said, "The tefillahs are being blocked by the talking. Change your shuls." Man went to a different shul. He came back to a Miller about 3 months later. They did a test. The baby boy is completely clear. Completely clear, 3 months later. In our shuls, if you have a cell phone goes off, if you have a cell phone for yourself, blocks your tefillah. Sometimes you'll see people look like they have a twitch in the middle of davening. All of a sudden you got talis and tefillin, and he's like this, off to the side, in the middle of davening. Nobody knows what you're doing. Goes off during Birkas Kohanim, or somebody calls and you're talking on the phone during davening. It blocks the tefillahs, number one. Number two, man once came, Bacher came to Rav Aaron Leib Shteyman. Said to Rav Shteyman, "I've always been told, I've been in yeshiva my entire life, I've always been told, if you learn Torah, just keep learning, and eventually you'll taste the sweetness of Torah. Mesikus HaTorah. I've been learning my entire life and I don't taste the sweetness of Torah." Rav Shteyman said to him, "Let me ask you a question. What's the sweetest substance in the world?" The boy said, "Honey." He said, "You're right. And if somebody has a mouth full of sores and a tongue full of cuts, and he puts honey in his mouth, you know what it'll feel like? The acidic base of the honey will cause him pain. He won't enjoy it. It won't be pleasurable. If you're using your mouth incorrectly, for Lashon Hara, Onoaz Dvorim, Nivul Peh, you're never going to taste the sweetness of Torah. Clean up your mouth and you'll taste the sweetness of Torah." When it comes to tefillah, it's the same thing. Can you imagine somebody goes out, you buy a gift for somebody. You buy the Queen of England a bouquet of flowers, and you take it and you put it in a garbage bag, and you present it to her. The gift will be rejected. Why? Because the kli that you're offering it with is a soiled kli. It's a filthy kli. Chafetz Chaim uses a harsher example. It's a soiled kli. What do you want that tefillah to be like? How could that tefillah possibly be effective? If a person is involved in Onoaz Dvorim, if a person is involved in Lashon Hara, if a person is involved in any inappropriate form of speech, the person is blocking their own tefillah from getting up there. So, young woman is walking on the street. She's 7 months pregnant. She has a 3-year-old child next to her who's got some sort of very, very obvious disability. And she's walking on the street 7 months pregnant. And a woman sees her. And she takes a look at her belly. And she looks at the child with the disfigurement. And she says to her, "Aren't you worried the next one's going to come out like this one?" Somebody let her out of her cage for the day. Aren't you worried the next one's going to be like this one? So to her credit, the young lady turned to her and smiled. She said, no, I'm not worried at all. Whatever Rebbeinu Shalom gives me will be fine. But that's a woman who's blocking her own tefillah. With a mouth like that, your tefillah can't be heard. How can HaKadosh Baruch Hu listen to your tefillah? You're running around with a mouth that kills people. You're walking around with a mouth that speaks on God's Torah. You're hurting people. That's a mouth that's blocking the tefillah. On the other hand, a man somebody told me, a man walked into a house on a Friday night, knocks on the door, the family's sitting around the Shabbos table. The man walks in, and in order for the effect to be as powerful, he became very dramatic. He knocks on the door, his family's sitting around the Shabbos table. And he looks around the Shabbos table, he sees a boy about 14, 15 years old. And right in front of him he goes, him! That boy right there. The parents don't know what's about to happen here. He says, that boy right there is an unbelievable masmid. That boy right there, I seen him in shul all the time in the base medrash, bein hazmanim, he's always learning. That's the boy, he's a masmid. I just want to tell you parents what kind of child you have. And he turns around and he walks out. That's a person whose tefillah can be heard. It's a person whose tefillah is likely to be listened to. Young man coming out of a shul, and a rabbi stops him, a rav stops him, says, excuse me, are you Chaim Levine? He says, yes. So I want to give you a yasher koach on your shalom bayis work. He says, I think you have the wrong person. I'm not yasher koach on your shalom bayis work. He says, I mean, I'm married 3 months myself. I have some of my shalom bayis work, but I'm not. He says, yasher koach on your shalom. He says, what are you talking about? He says, I want to tell you something. Do you remember 2 weeks ago you were in a base medrash and you were learning? And there was a young boy who was sitting and learning, chuckling away. And his father was sitting about 2 rows behind him, and you walked over to his father and said, wow, I want to tell you something. It's exceptional level of asmana for a 14-year-old. Do you remember that? The guy says, yeah, how does he possibly know that? It was 2 weeks ago in a small base medrash. How do you possibly know? He says, I want to tell you something. There's a family in town that's have dreadful shalom bayis problems. I've been working with them for 6 months. I have made no progress whatsoever. One of the reasons they're having trouble, the main reason is the father has very low self-esteem. That man is the husband who I've been working with. Your compliment to that man, your compliment built him up so high. He walked out of that shul. He bought his wife a bouquet of flowers. He went to a candy shop and bought her a box of chocolate. They've been living in Gan Eden for the last 2 weeks because of that one sentence that what I couldn't do in 6 months, you did with one compliment. So a person understands the koach of the mouth. The koach of the mouth for tefillah, if we use our mouth properly, that enhances the possibility of our tefillah being accepted. It's an interesting phenomenon we find. Og Melech HaBashan was around at the time of the Mabul. Og Melech HaBashan was around at the time of Avram Avinu, and Og Melech HaBashan was around at the time that Klal Yisrael went into Eretz Yisrael. That means Og Melech HaBashan must have been around for hundreds of years. So, obvious question, what did Og Melech HaBashan do that he deserved to live so long? There's a Targum Yonasan ben Uziel that says, Og Melech HaBashan saw Avram and Sarah. He said to Avram and Sarah, the two of you are beautiful like a tree alongside the brook. For that compliment was Nigzar on Og Melech HaBashan, that he's going to live for hundreds of years. So why did he die? At the hands of Moshe Rabbeinu? Because in the very next sentence he said, the two of you are beautiful like a tree alongside the brook, but you don't produce fruit. For that shtoch was Nigzar on him, he's going to be killed. That's the koach of the peh. We want our tefillah to be heard. A person who makes his mouth a kli to build people up instead of tearing people down, to encourage people, to compliment people. As one young lady said to me, they have a policy, a girl came over to me after a talk I gave at a seminary. And she said, thank you. She enjoyed the talk, whatever. I said to her, that was very nice of you to tell me that. I was impressed. A young girl comes over and say, you know, it's an intimidating rabbi. And she says, hey, thank you very much. I said, it's very nice of you to compliment me. She goes, we have a policy in our home. If you're thinking something good, say it. No, we usually save that. The things we say, which we don't keep in our minds, are usually whatever the opposite of good is. The good things, we don't want to make you feel bad by giving you a compliment. Never understood that. You know, he'll feel bad, he'll feel funny. Feel great. He'll feel funny. Nobody feels funny. Funny in a good way. If you're thinking something good, say it. And you're doing yourself a favor, because you're hoping that your own tefillahs will be accepted. Finally, the Rav went to France, walked into a shul, sees a man davening in the shul in France, and the man was davening with a tremendous amount of energy, jumping around, shaking his hands. Sometimes you see that people davening, and there's a lot of physical effort being expended. So Rav watched a guy, looks like he's on a jungle gym, watches the guy. After davening, the Rav comes over. He says to him, I want to tell you something. Your davening was very inspiring. I'm just curious, you know, you're moving around an awful lot, you know, just wondering what that mahalach is. So the guy says to him, I'll tell you, when I was a little boy, my mother once called me into the kitchen. She filled up a jug with water to the top. She put it on the kitchen table. She shook the table and spilled, and some of the water spilled over. She said to me, Herschel, that jug is the Ribono Shel Olam. The Ribono Shel Olam is a kel malei rachamim. You have to just know how to shake it so some of that rachamim spills over. So, I don't know the kavanas of the tefillah the man said. I don't know exactly the deep kavanas and the intent, exactly what the words mean. But I figure if I move around a lot during davening, I'll be able to somehow shake out some of that rachamim that it should spill over on us. We live in a time where Klal Yisrael needs rachamim in so many ways, on a communal level, on an individual level, physically, materially, ruchniistically. So much rachamim we need. Ki Beisi Beis Tefillah has been destroyed. Beis Hamikdash has been destroyed. It's not accessible. But the Mikdash Me'at, the Beis Medrash such as this, a shul we daven on a regular basis in our own communities. Every Beis Medrash has that potential. Every Beis HaKnesses has that potential. We want to turn ourselves into a kli that's worthy. We want to turn those shuls and Batei Midrashos into a place that's a Mikdash Me'at, that the Kel Molei Rachamim should spill over. We should be the recipients of the Kodesh Baruch Hu's Rachamim. See the true Geula V'Yemera V'Yameinu Amen.